Now we're here with Chantal from Orchids and Exotics, and we're going to ask you the big question. What are your 3 best tips for growing orchids?
First tip, find out what you have and find out where it's from and mimic the conditions. That would be the 3 tips really. But if I want to add on that, feed after watering, find out what feed is the best or what works best for you, what feed you would like. And yeah, neglect, don't over fuss about them. That would be my 3 tips. Yeah, and love with neglect. That's my love for them. Love from a distance.
And can you expand a little bit on that feeding?
So when you water your plant, you water first and then you feed. So right throughout the year we do a balanced feed, a 20-20-20, and then in spring and summer we do an additional feed of a flower production feed, which is high phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, and we do the flower production not at the same time as the balance. So for example, if I'm watering my plant once a week, I would do the balance feed after watering, so balance feed 3 times, flower production once. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Amalia from God's Green Gifts, and what are your 3 best tips for growing orchids?
Oh goodness. Sure, that's a tricky one because there's so many different types, but generally most of the orchids that we grow, they need a nice high dappled light. They're not getting enough sun, they're not going to flower, most of these orchids here. Good watering and feeding. Feeding is essential, you've got to feed. Like we like our peas and carrots, orchids also need their food.
And what's good watering mean?
So what good watering means is that often people say to me, no, I do water and I use my spritz bottle, but by the time you've done 2 little spritzes, your hand is tired and the water's barely got onto the plant. So if you're going to water, use a hose pipe so that you can really soak that plant, and you'll actually see the roots change color if they're a hanging plant or a mounted plant, but you want to make sure that the plant's actually getting water and not just a little smattering of mist.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And we're here with Jeff from Mighty Fine Orchids, and we're going to ask you the same question. What are your best 3 tips for growing orchids?
Keep it simple. Watch for light. Light is your biggest problem when they're not flowering. And just grow what you like. Don't grow to impress people. Keep it simple.
And there you have from the horse's mouth. Here we are with Dave Brennan from Triple H Nursery. So what are your best 3 tips for looking after orchids?
I think the first one would be get the orchids that grow in your area. I think that's the first tip. If you don't grow easily in your area, don't get them unless you've got different housing for them. Secondly, I'd say join a club and find out exactly how to grow them. And then thirdly, don't spend money on things that you would like to grow that won't grow in your area. I think those are the best tips you can give anybody.
That's good sound advice. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
James, the famous PAF grower. James, what are your 3 best tips for growing orchids?
That's actually quite a difficult question. I like to specialize, so I only grow PAFs, so it makes life a lot easier, less complicated, but good air movement, definitely. Feed, and more feed. They love food, orchids, there's no doubt about that. And really enjoy them. Just communicate with them in Prince Charles manner. More attention you give them, the better they grow.
And just that little bit of advice about feed, we hear other people saying don't feed, and here you saying feed. Is there a bit of a fight about who's right and who's wrong?
Every grower has their own way of doing it. I say feed weekly. So very weak food every week. You must give every week, and that's right throughout the year. It's the only way to get them to grow and flower.
Thank you kindly. And here we are with the master grower from Kinley Gardens. We're going to ask you one very happy question. What are the 3 best tips you have for growing orchids?
Patience, dedication, and just enjoyment.
And by patience, I hope you're not meaning sending your orchids to the hospital.
No. Patience, in other words, take your time, get good healthy roots, get good healthy plants, and you will always have healthy blooms. Great.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And here we are with Jimmy, the Highway Orchid Society's chairman. And we've got one little quick question for you. What are your 3 best tips for growing orchids?
I think patience is important. They're slow growing plants. They sometimes take a while to perform. You have to find the right conditions for them. So I think patience and perseverance are important characteristics. I think you also need to be a little bit adventurous. Try this, try that, see what happens. Sometimes you get unexpected results and benefits. Sometimes you read up on a plant and you say, oh, this should be ideally suited to my conditions, and it doesn't really work. And then other times you buy a plant, you say, well, let's see how it goes, and hey presto, it works. So yeah, you've got to be a little bit adventurous and flexible, but I think patience and persistence are the main things in this game.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Kim, a committee member of the Natal Orchid Society, and we're going to put to you the question we've been putting to everyone. What are your 3 best tips for growing orchids?
Join a society, they help you. That's probably the first one. I'm more of a killer than a grower at this point, so I am trying to grow more than kill. So my first thing would be find a support who can help you in your journey. That would be the first thing. The second thing is do not overwater, ever, because that is like what I do all the time. And I think thirdly would be to find out what its natural conditions are, because we want to simulate that as much as possible. Those are my 3 best tips from a non-expert and a complete beginner who kills more than grows, and hopefully I'll be growing more than I kill soon. So there we are.
Thank you, thank you. And here we are with Christo. He's one of the big growers in Port Elizabeth. And we're going to ask him the question. What are your 3 best tips on growing orchids?
Well, that's quite a difficult one, but yeah, I think the most important thing is to know what you're growing. Make sure you read up on it before you buy. Make sure you feed them properly, and I think that those are the 2 most important ones for me. I don't have a third one.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And again, with the master grower Matthew from Tension Orchids.
Hello everyone.
Just your quick 3 best tips for growing orchids.
Please don't overwater your plants. A lot of people kill their orchids by overwatering. So when you're in doubt, it's better not to water. And make sure the plants are bone dry. The media is bone dry before water it again. And when you water, make sure it's wet, and you wait until it's bone dry to water it again. That's the trick.
Just the one tip then, or?
Yes. Yeah. And then you can feed it every other time you water, if you like. But I think watering is the most important part, because a lot of people kill their orchids by overwatering their plants. Yeah. Thank you.